as of now, we haven't gone through. So maybe it will give us a brief idea. That's why I was
Yeah,
talking
I'll
about.
tell
At least
you.
in a, at least in a brief this thing, not the,
I'll
not reading
definitely.
out.
We will start. We will start it. Don't worry about it. We can talk a little more than what is given in the case study. Actually, my analysis is basically not to just follow whatever is there in the case study. I assume that everybody know the case facts.
Okay.
So we will run through what are the approaches they have, general approach they have taken. That is not given in that particular thing, but if you go through entirely, you will understand. Praveen, are you recording?
Eh, yes, started just now.
Okay, okay. Shivendra, you are making a call or what?
No, I'm not making any call.
Okay, right. Should I
Should
start?
Yeah, sure. Matlab, I'm ready
Okay.
because
Okay.
it's already 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. See, issue here is till 1990s, till India was opened up, the market was basically it's a kind of a seller's market. Seller used to dictate the price, everything, and of course there used to be a mechanism whereby, since it is an essential commodity under Essential Commodities Act, government used to administer the prices or rather control the prices. There used to be a committee of senior officers. They used to sit with the the producers, consumers, and by and large they used to dictate the terms and finally decide upon the price. So because of a lot of quantity restrictions between both private sector, public sector, and all, so this you can say it as a controlled industry. So when the industry is controlled, the supplies are totally fixed. Like you have to supply only this much quantity, whereas the demand is much higher than the supply. So here, since the demand is higher than supply, it is basically a seller's market. So seller was least bothered because he at the end of the day all his stock is sold and he gets whatever margin. So what the regular approach they used to do is they want to ensure that the costs are reduced, then whatever the transportation is minimal, and and the storage is not their godowns are not overfilled with the material and all these stuff. So since there is a huge amount of demand, nobody commanded any the so-called quality. Irrespective of the quality, people used to take over that particular commodity. They are basically into TMT bars, right? TMT bar, which is called ray bars. और वो हिंदी में क्या सरया कुछ बोलता है ना? What's that? प्रताप?
Saria.
Sariya, na? Sariya. Okay. So this is a commodity which is highly in demand, and that was the mechanism because of which usually the firm used to take a route of wholesalers, right? They used to give it to the distributor used to sell it to the wholesaler, and they are least bothered about what is the consumer behavior, customer sentiment, what is this asking rate, what kind of a quality do they want. Despite all these factors, Tata Steel gained a reputation of being a high quality steel producer. And Tata Steel has a big advantage in the sense they have captive mines, and then they have established first integrated steel plant, whereby they have more than 100 years legacy, legacy of being into the industry. So that gave a brand reputation. Then came the decision to open up Indian economy in 1990s. So basically, they threw a challenge. So they are faced with a huge threat from competitors, especially even the MNCs, because that market was deregulated. Government has allowed expansion, capacity expansion. So these all players, anticipating so much of demand for these products, they kept on expanding. However, the biggest problem with it is how to sell that excess produce. See, as long as production is below that of demand, they never had an issue. But the moment you are producing more than what market can consume, so then came how to sell it. how to go into the market. Initial 10 years till 2002 were a period of, you can say, a lot long, you can a period of turmoil in case of Tata Steel, because their market share got plummeted, their profitability got taken a beating, and their stocks also piled up, and it eroded the value for the investors of Tata Steel. So this was the situation. How to go about? What next? And also, since it is basically a seller's market, there is no market research conducted, and the information is very scanty. There were so many institutional voids. There is nobody to fill in, give information what exactly it is, how to go about, what is the right model. Because the steel market is so that the mandi, in that mandi, every day in the steel mandi, every day steel prices used to fluctuate. And there were so many spurious steel with very low grade, low competition used to come. Price, generally it is all about price, nobody knows. It is such a product, nobody sees what is beyond the wall, whatever is visible to the consumer, only that will be seen for value or whatever. And also, in a particular person's lifetime, he may not be in a position to exactly identify the quality of that particular product also. See, the building you build will sustain for minimum 50 years. It may go up to 100 depending on the quality of construction. And a person who has started building that particular building will be mostly around 40s, and by the time everything is ready, he may be in 50s, and he may live for another 20 or 30 years. So he is not there to exactly identify the exact quality, and that is the reason why this is such a product that it has a very typical different kind of a thing other than what it used to. So it doesn't have any looks. Nobody is bothered about the quality and all those stuff. And brand doesn't matter here. Irrespective whether they have built a brand or not, brand doesn't command any respect. So this is the biggest challenge with which they came into. So due to this challenge, then came the market research. So what they have to understand the consumer behavior, and they understood that they lack the so-called distribution channel. And whatever the distributors are, they are highly over pampered. They are too big people to be bothered about the brand value or values of the company. Rather, they are only bothered about how much profitability they make it. At times, they are very arrogant. They are least bothered about, or they are not at all in sync with the Tata's values. So how to go ahead with it? So this is the basic challenge, and loyalty was totally missing. Brand loyalty, whichever new company, whichever offers better premium, they are going to shift their loyalty towards it, and they are the ones who used to take the cut, and they used to, whichever the company, whosoever is going to give them big cut kind of a thing, they used to prefer such kind of thing, and they were at the wedge, at the cutting edge, because company doesn't know anything about the customer choice preference and what is the spending capacity and what quantity do they desire. What these distributors used to do, they used to sell it to wholesalers. So for them it is done, and this model will not work. Given the situation whereby there the shift was from seller's market to buyer's market. So once the buyer's market came into existence, then comes is the consumer behavior. How will the buyer behave to various factors? Like, first factor is, are they bothered about quality? What is the quantity they are willing to? What is the price they want to? What is the buyer's price that is willingness to pay? Then comes is the kind of his requirements, and who is going to cater to his needs. And also, second thing is the information. There is a huge information void, which we have learned about, institutional voids. One of the biggest institutional void is the market information. So here the market information is lacking from either parties. So there is no sync. And the person in between who are usually either wholesalers or retailers or even the so-called distributor. All hi Ganesh.
Hello, good
Yeah, how
evening,
are you?
Suresh.
Yeah, we were just going through this, case. I think you made some study.
I did. The only challenge is I'm in transit, so very bad connectivity. So sorry for that. But I've gone through the case study, if we call it so.
Yeah, can you just put your words like what is your observation so that I just gave an insight. It is still in the
Sure.
introduction. What is the challenges they come up once they opened up, once the economy was opened? Till then. So what is your inference?
So I would say that see, first of all, I'll be more of a listener here because I gone through the case. Some of the key things that I noticed was I think the supply chain itself wasn't too clear to the company. The dependency on the basically the distributors, if you may call it, without knowing the consumer sentiment. So
Absolutely.
my thought was to break down the supply chain in terms of what really added value to the um, profit potential. So that was so maybe we would dissect the supply chain in a bit to say who had the control, who had the if you call it the SOC, supplier opportunity cost, where was the hurdle, and then of course the second phase of the case study, which goes into what were the other alternative strategies the Tata Discount Group built up. But I think the first part is more critical in terms of the problem statement, the supply chain
Yeah.
dissection. For me, that was a learning on this. I'm still trying to assimilate, what kind of a strategy would have worked for an early detection, because they spent more than 2 years trying to understand this, right?
Right.
What adds value.
So
Suresh, I'm
yeah.
sorry, I'm just talking about a lot of things here, but my
No, no,
focus
no, no.
and
Absolutely
key
perfect. You
point
are
was this,
you
that
are bang on. Yes. Continue. Ganesh.
so the commoditization, yeah,
Yeah.
the commoditization and of the steel product itself, how it was seen, how it was perceived
Right.
by the market, and the fact that the consumer sentiment, for example, the fact that the consumer had to go from one mill to the other mill to understand where the price, what the price is, etc. So the transparency, if I may call it, wasn't
Mhm.
clear. So I think some of these bottlenecks, I guess, is a very important aspect first to highlight um, before we go into the solution aspect. What do you think, Suresh?
Yeah, I'll just explain you. See, I just went through. I was explaining them problem statement. Then we will discuss about a general strategy we will be taking. So actually, see, you have highlighted very rightly. I'll put it this way. So for the crowd, already it will be a repetition, but still, I think it will help further crystallization of the concept. See, actually, uh, we basically this particular steel prior to the opening up of Indian economy, it fall under the so-called essential commodities, under Essential Commodities Act. Since it is an essential commodity under Essential Commodities Act, it was totally regulated and ensured that the government ensured that the no party is in a position to be a monopoly, right? So they encouraged all the players like SAIL in the public sector, then the private sector, Tata, Jindals, and all those other players. So they all had a kind of a control mechanism whereby it's basically a seller's market where The demand is higher than the supply. So whosoever the player who are into this particular segment, they all were getting their orders totally booked, and their stockpiles whatsoever, they are totally getting consumed within that particular cycle. And it is cyclical, subject to demand, supply, seasonality, depending on monsoon, what kind of a period they are, and whether that is a construction period or not. So this used to be the pattern. Prior to that, there used to be one joint plant committee. Okay, that is basically a government body where the steel manufacturers, suppliers, then government plus other consumer or consumer forums, consumer produce forums. You can say unions or something like that. They used to basically deliberate upon what should be the quantity to be produced, who should produce how much, and what should be the price. This was dictated prior to the so-called liberalization. So all the companies used to get their cut, and everybody used to get whatever is produced, that is totally consumed. So they were assured of a particular bottom line. And Tata Steel, being the first integrated steel plant of India, they had an experience of over 90 or 80 odd years. So they were one of the premium brand, and apart they carefully build around a brand for themselves because of their values, ethics, and the social corporate or CSR they used to activity they used to do. So their tagline is "We also make steel," and they used to show basically their corporate CSR programs and all. So that is how they build a reputation around their own product. And since Tata Group is highly diversified conglomerate in India with a very extensive, you can say, supply chain, so they for them getting their product sold is not a problem. But since it was a buyers sellers market, they had very less access to the basic market research or market information, especially regarding consumer behavior. So that is what is lacking in that particular company. So what they did is, once the entire economy got opened, so now every steel producer was allowed to expand their capacities. There was a lot of the monopolies were totally, or rather restrictive restrictions from the government side was totally lifted. The sector was open to the private participation, including FDIs. So they were sensing a lot of competition, and there was a huge amount of expansion which is going on. So that first initial 10 years was a kind of a turmoil for Tata industry, because they could not understand the consumer sentiment. And here we need to understand the supply chain, as you said, rightly pointed out. In the supply chain, especially the downstream, not the upstream. So the upstream, the downstream part, especially with the distribution channels. So there used to be one key distributor. They have certain 38 or so odd distributors for their entire network in India. So what they used to do is they were the key, and they used to sell off the produce to the wholesalers. They are not bothered about whether they are selling. See, I think let's wait for Ganesh to join. He got disconnected. Could you make it out? Praveen, Shivram, Shivendra?
Yeah.
It's a very simple, straight cut case study. Nothing much is there about it. But the only thing is how we present matters a lot, because we hardly have 15 minutes. So that's where I just want to, where we should have some, a different kind of a thought. I discussed with Bhavin. Bhavin will be our the so-called opening batsman. So I told him which approach we had to take so that we don't waste our time. We will be hardly talking about only for 5 minutes, not more than that. Bhavin may take 1 or 2 minutes, 3 minutes for the next subsequent person who will explain about that particular thing. And then there are two more aspects. He asked very, very tricky questions. It's not a simple question. I'll just read it out. Question number one is, why do you think all the micro improvements, innovations except superlinks fail to scale? This is the question. Question seems simple, but it is very tricky and you have to give an in-depth answer to it. And can you identify the mechanisms, tools, investment, people, incentives, activities that supported high premium of Ticson brand? So we need to identify the mechanism, and in that mechanism we have to give it in a different, we have to present it in a totally different way. Like they have adopted so many principles in this particular, case study, or rather the approach generally Ticson has taken into consideration. So how we explain it, that matters a lot. That holds the entire of the key. Not that given we have seen the experience with all the 5-7 groups, I can understand that not many people will be in a position to exactly explain these two questions. And since we will have the first mover, in fact, first mover in the sense first group immediately after first group, we can present it even better compared to others. And the only threat I feel we may be having is from the group 7. And since there will be a recency effect, and if we happen to convince much better, they may be a little repetitive, or they may have to take a totally different path. So either way, we will have that advantage because we are the first mover. So our first mover always gets an advantage. So this is with this, I think I'm thinking like how to go about this particular thing. So coming to the topic, I think we need to understand after that particular economy got opened up, because of the institutional voids, because the market is not you can say open market, rather the market forces are not in full operation. Since the market forces are not in full operation, there is inefficiencies within the system. That inefficiencies are totally got exposed in the first 10 years of their entire progress up to 2002. There is a sudden dip in the market premium they commanded, the market share they commanded. So this entire thing went down, and it eroded the wealth of Tatas. They realized that there is something wrong with it. They identified it is basically distribution channel network. That is basically their biggest, weakest link, and how to strengthen it. This is the biggest challenge. So what approach did they take? What they did was, I'm not, giving you any kind of the so-called analysis which we will be bringing in during that case study. I'm just giving you a straight narrative, right, without any analysis. So they came up, they understood that they need to study the supply chain. They need to understand the consumer behavior. As I said, the biggest stumbling block was the distributor, who was totally a fat boy kind of a person. He is highly arrogant, not bothered about any particular brand. He's only bothered about his immediate cut, how much he's going to sell it to the market, how much killing he can make. So this is it. And the wholesalers, they put everything into the mandi, and in the mandi every product is the same. And they used to, within that particular thing, they used to fool the people because it is all by weight. There used to be some influencers. One is the mason and the other is the engineer. Engineer used to give the structural engineer used to give totally details related to the weight. It's not about what kind of metal or how many bars that is required for each kind of a structure. It all depends on the structure. So basically, when he went, what these steel sellers or traders used to do is, They used to give them overweight, they used to overcharge them, and then there used to be a lot of loot at every level. And this poor chap, whosoever used to purchase, he has to purchase for material which is not at all required. No. Say somewhere 8 rod is maybe required. He will assess it and send it say 16 rods. Though it is not required, 16 maybe 4 times the overall weight of this 8 rod. But since the customer is not totally aware about the product and how what kind of a quality he has to take, so there is a total lack of the so-called information, right? Market information is lacking, technical information is lacking. There is a total void, void in terms of information. And buyer and seller is not at the same, they are at cross purposes. So Tata being at the one end, there were certain channels in between, and that is where the entire play used to go. So ultimately, the poor chap was totally looted at every level, and then finally, whatever he used to take, and there is nothing to verify, as we are saying, since the product lasts much longer and nobody knows where the product is. Once the wall is constructed, it is plastered, nobody knows what is happening, and whether it is developing a crack, whether it is getting rusted, so nothing, since it's not known in the same generation of the person who has actually constructed the house. No one is knowing. And the builders, if you see the kind of behavior of a builder is not bothered about anything. Even if a 20 rod is required, he may construct a house with 16 or 12 and then he will make the market, because whatever damage to the structure that may happen maybe 20 or 30 years down the line, who knows whether he will be surviving or not. So he will make his cut and then he will be jolly well gone. So this is what the market is. Market is, there is a total amount of unfair play. Understand? Totally immoral trading used to happen, and it is not fair towards the customers. Customers lost the value, but they are not aware whether they are losing value or not. So finally, this led to this Tata understanding that their biggest weakness is building that so-called distribution network, distribution channel network. So they focused on it, but they don't have requisite. Hi, Ganesh.
Hi. Sorry, Suresh. Poor connectivity at my side. Sorry for
Yeah,
that.
I just waited for some time, but before I went on, I think you got a little bit of glimpse, right?
Yes. Please
Anyway, I'm
continue.
continuing from the same. In between, I told something else to them, but again, coming back to the point where I left when you got disconnected. So actually, they understood that they need a dedicated distribution network. That is what is needed, but they lack the so-called market information, because, as I said, since there is a sudden shift from being a seller's market to buyer's market, now comes is how to convince the buyer to purchase their product, and what is so good about their quality, and why they should prefer Tata brand compared to others. Over here, as I said, the product, since it is not visible to the consumers, immediately after it gets, the wall is built or it is being plastered, so nobody knows what's going inside and how long the structures will sustain. So the builder, the seller would have made his own cut. So is the builder and mason. Everybody would have made their own cuts. So finally, who will be the sufferer? The person who has put money into it. He will be the sufferer. But however, that concerned person also may not be aware, right? Maybe he might have died, and the subsequent his own kith and kin may not be knowing much about it, what went wrong, and all. Since there is not much of a market information available, nobody is aware about the quality of that particular product, and no one has understanding about the structural engineering part of it. So there is a lot of market asymmetry, especially information asymmetry among the producers and the consumers. So that led to a biggest challenge, how to go about and strengthen their brand. And initial 10 years, they could not figure out how to go about. By the time they understood, what they understood is that the key in the entire of the channel is the distributor. Distributor is, the guy who has to align to whatever the corporate, you can say strategies or corporate mission and vision and objectives, that is not aligned because he is totally an outsider. His interests are in conflict with that of Tata. Tata want brand loyalty, loyal towards their own, company, rather than a person who is not loyal to any company except for the profit. So this is where the basic conflict of interest, and since the particular information is only available with the distributor and wholesaler, these people had huge amount of information asymmetry, or rather that was totally lacking. So they understood, apart from the distribution channel network, it is the information related to market research. So they engaged a particular consultant and they formed a team. That team is called OBL, which is outbound logistics task force, that comprising of their own team members plus the consultant. They understood, and they took around 2 years to identify that they need to build a very strong kind of a distribution channel network by making, see, they did not get any relevant case study except for two. One is the Asian Paints, the second is Procter and Gamble. Only these two have such a good network, pan-India network, where they can make their product reach every nook and corner, and they had some amount of understanding with respect to the consumer behavior. So what these people did is they understood this as a thing, and then they wanted a kind of a distributor retailer model. So in that process, what they did was they understood they have to do away with the existing distributor. So they have started with an initiative which is called as what is that? RVM, retail
Value management.
management. Basically, see, what they did is, I'll tell you the principles they have adopted. The principles they have adopted, which we based on the previous entire of the thing, is what we discussed till today. They adopted, first thing is the value chain analysis. See, firm resources, whether what kind, where exactly, what is their actual valuable resource, what is their rare resources, and what is their organization or the inimitability, and all these kind of things. They made that VRIO analysis as well as value chain analysis. They understood that among the value chain, it is the distribution chain network. This is where is their weakest link. So once they did a valuable chain analysis, they put a model called as platform model, not like a pipeline kind of a thing, whereby they will put juxtapose so many other services, which is linked to this product, the so-called selling of TMT bars. They try to enter into, they themselves going for the ERP kind of a thing, whereby they themselves will give a lot of services that include training, outreach towards retailers, towards the influencers like masons, engineers, who play a very vital role. And then they wanted to bring them also into Hi Bhaskar, into the value chain. So those people, how to integrate entire of the thing and how to make that particular platform work. In platform, if you understand, like I think most of you are all maybe might have been aware, we had you gone through the previous discussion on this. We discussed like platform is that where any company, whichever, working for certain things like reduction in interaction costs. Interaction cost doesn't mean that the moment the product is sold, the entire game is over. It continues till the entire product life cycle. It may involve maybe promotion, marketing, then after sale, customer service. So there are so many channels, and whichever company reduces this so-called interactive costs, they are the ones will give they will give value to the consumer, as well as they make a big killing. So in order to have that, this company has to totally model, which Tata Steel fortunately has done it. They understood the entire value chain. They applied the value chain analysis, identified what are the loopholes in each of the value chain, and finally they understood. They also understood the so-called consultant can only give you a structured plan for what they are about to implement, and they themselves cannot give you a kind of foolproof model whereby everything can be done. They are external people. They'll try to understand based on their understanding about that particular industry. They will give you certain suggestions, and ultimately it is you, the in-house team, with excellent understanding about the market, with proper market research. Only those people can give you a value. So what Tata did is, previously none of the sales managers used to go beyond the so-called distributor. So they started going to reach up to the customer. They have, they everybody is made to visit every customer, and all the entire channel, right from distributor, wholesaler, retailer, and the consumer. So they got with a continuous focus on that customer visit, they got to know a lot of information. So this RVM guys, once they were, they got the entire of the information, they came up with a lot of information and understanding about what the market is, what the industry is, and what are the various factors, who are their threats, and which area, which segment is having, what kind of threat, and who are their competitors, what is the lacuna of how this particular company is doing in that particular segment or territory. So on and so forth. So much of information was available. That information was carefully processed. Finally, they come up with a particular solution. Solution was, they started innovating. They went step by step. Initially, they understood first weakest link is the distributor. How to channelize the distributor. So what they did is, they identified, they put kind of a research around the distributor, the quality of distributor, how much loyal they are, and what is the kind of business they are giving, whether they are indulging into any other practices, and what kind of behavior they are into, and whether they are in against the values and the so-called mission and vision of Tata Group. So on and so forth. All these things were made into a study. Finally, they called for the so-called they opened the distribution channel. So they attracted thousands of applicants, and everybody is being studied based on certain metrics. So finally, they have done away with all those distributors who are either too haughty, they are totally disloyal, or they are going against the interest of the company, or they are least indifferent to the values for which a Tata brand is standing for, or they are trying to do certain malpractices in the market just to have profitability, and so on and so forth. So based on this, they have eliminated many of the distributors who were erstwhile very loyal to the company. So finally, these guys, being a big guys, they try to, they put this matter to the so-called the leadership of Tata Steel. Finally, they went ahead with that. They gave the mandate to RVM. They have agreed to whatever the recommendations they have given, and they have eliminated a major threat. Okay, fine. Now, once you have eliminated the distribution, and what is the guarantee that the newcomers will be more loyal and these people don't retaliate? They may not go to their competitors. That is what happened initially, and that is why Tata Steel, initially could not take it up the way it has to, and then there was a continuous slide in the gross margin, the premium they are getting, and also the market penetration or the so-called market share. So they came up with a challenge. So they came out with an innovative solutions. Immediately after this, they understood, let us eliminate all these people, let us put a brand and encourage people to go for this so-called big distributors, being their companies ambassadors or poster boys. So what they did is they initiated certain programs whereby these people are being encouraged, and whosoever gives more than 80 percentage of their product portfolio is of Tata brand, actively promoting, and then they are being incentivized, like they were given some extra money, and then they also offered that they will train people instead of engaging those semi-literate or literate people who don't have the skills or the ability to market the product, rather than blindly GSAP type kind of people. So these people, Tata said, okay, we will put 50% of our, we will identify the right kind of people, guys, who are qualified, who are literate, and who can understand the market, who can understand the product, and we will pay 50% to them, and you bear 50%. And that way, there was a kind of a kind of a win-win situation, and also this distributor is totally loyal and also coupled, because his whatever the charges, especially for their employees, are taken care of by Tata. Naturally, he will be more inclined towards promoting Tata brand rather than any other brand. So apart from that, what they did is they focused on giving certain incentives, giving more, premium rather than giving a premium or a discount, because this entire market was flooded with a lot of discounts, and Tata don't want to have this discount kind of a thing. Rather, they want to fix the price, and instead of giving them discount, they offered certain other incentives, like, as I said, engaging the staff and paying them 50% of the salary, and then taking them to they made it as a kind of a part of their family, a parivar. In that parivar network, they were being taken to exotic locations like Bali, like Thailand, or in some other location abroad, and they used to engage them as a team for 7 to 10 days. They were being taken, they were totally taken care of in best of the best hotels. They were made to understand what is their strategy, how they, what kind of products they are going to bring, so on and so forth. With this particular kind of a thing, so the distributor slowly turning towards loyalty. The moment a distributor turned 100% loyal to Tata, then they came up with a kind of exclusive showrooms whereby they standardized this, the showroom in such a way that anybody can, just by looking at the outlook of that particular shop, they can identify this is a Tata Steel or Tiscon's authorized dealer, So that way they standardized it. After standardization, what they did is they went on with a lot of advertisement, like we all see in the villages and everywhere. The houses are painted with a lot of brands, and if you all remember, if you see in Indian villages, most of the houses are filled with brands, especially TMT bars. right? It may be Tata Steel, Vizag Steel, SAIL, or in a place like Andhra, Simhadri. Then so many other steels are there, Jindals, Mittals, so on and so forth. So this was that way they have created a kind of a market awareness. So people are made aware ki yes, there is some brand, these are the brands which are available in the market. So that is how they made it. Then the next thing which they went on is, apart from brand, they understood. See, if you once you give the product to the wholesale, the entire wholesale network, your brand and everybody's brand is the same. So people used to sell it, as I said in the past, like they used to sell it by weight. Say an engineer, structural engineer, say he made a composition of a particular building based on certain rods and all. Instead of making the length and how many bars are required, he used to give the overall weight. And these unscrupulous, distributors and dealers, what they used to do is, if he required only say 100 tons of steel, say that steel is of 12 rods, instead of 12 they used to pump in 20 or so the weight got increased, number of bars got reduced, and cost got increased. Maybe structural engineer, he may say, no, not this much is not sufficient, you have to go for additional. So in the process, who is the loser? Loser was the customer. So what they did is, natural thing was, they said, okay, they innovated, or rather they introduced two kind of a concepts which were totally innovative. One is that they said, no, we will not sell by weight. We will sell only by numbers. You tell me how many rods are required, how many 80 rods are required, 8 rods, 12 16 20, or so on and so forth. So that is how they standardized it. So the malpractices got totally reduced, and this is one. And then another thing what happened is, once you put it on to the dealer and inside the market, people are so cost conscious. India, as you all know, they are totally cost conscious. Then the consumer used to make many rounds to most of the so-called showrooms or dealers, and whichever dealer or whichever company offers them the lowest price, they used to go for it. So these guys never used to understand the implication and the issues related to that particular product. So what these people introduced is, okay, we will in the mandi everyday basis, the price keeps on fluctuating. So Tata came up with an innovative model whereby they said, we will announce a price, fixed price for everything, and it will be there. We will not make any changes for 1 month. And they used to publish in every newspaper. So the information is spread. Everybody understands that yes, Tata is a company which is publishing its rates, and they used to know what is the rate, and they used to go to the market, and if anybody matches the rate, if Tata is better, then it became a benchmark kind of a thing. So that way they could penetrate. But however, finally, as we all know, it is all about Indians are very much price sensitive. So it could not kickstart or give the impact which Tata estimated. So what they understood is, okay, these are all fine. Like, we have strengthened our distribution channel. We ensured that there is a brand loyalty. We could standardize the product. We could bring in more number of models, everything. However, the problem is, like, there are certain influencers. One is the Mason is an influencer. The second influencer is a engineer. So what they did is, they also integrated these two guys into their system, whereby they said, okay, all the structural engineers, you all can be part of our training and education programs. We promote our brand. We give you so many, information, and it's all free of cost. So you come, you learn new technologies, new things which are innovated, or the new products which Tata has introduced. So that innovation, these all things went on, and then whosoever suggest any of these product, they were also being rewarded. And what used to happen is many a times these two players, one is Mason also, for Mason also the same thing. They did it, but that is customized to their understanding and their needs. Because here, if you see among these two influencers, it is the Mason who has you can say more vested interest compared to any engineer, because a mason is a person who is basically a kind of a semi-skilled guy who is totally under subsistence levels. Engineers are a little better off, so they may not be so much in conflict with the company's whatever, because this guy, he will put all his reputation towards somebody who is offering him more cuts compared to what Tata will be offering. So that these two people were being brought into the net, and they were also being incentivized with certain schemes, like what they did with dealers and all. So that incentivity also was given. Apart from that, what they understood is, okay, these two people are being covered. Still, there is one particular person who is not covered. That is independent house builder, right? These are the guys who are least bothered about these entire the mechanics, and his consumer behavior is totally different compared to these guys. He is the one who is constructing his own home, and he is the one who is putting all his money into it, usually 40s, and he suffers from so much of lack of credit. Especially credit was what he was totally lacking. And then he had limited incomes. He had a dream to have a house. So in order to cater to the needs, they set up a kind of a studio, right? In that studio, they have put various designs, various models. They said what kind of a steel is required for what, everything. So these guys used to come there, they used to take information, and then they used to customize. We need to have a puja room for this much. Out of, mostly what they did is they identified a place like Dhanbad, they understood there are around 30 different sizes of plots, 38 different sizes of plot, and they customized with a lot of models, what kind of room space should be there, where to put the so-called washrooms, or where to put kitchen, all that stuff. Despite all the customization, people, the so-called independent home buyers, they are not happy with the standardized products. They wanted much more customization, and they want everything free of cost, because this studio was, I think they were charging around 10,000 rupees for this particular concept. Then that was totally disbanded. Later they went with another model whereby they used to offer site visits, and used to go to the visit. They used to check whether it is correct, wrong, all those stuff, and that also came up with a little costing, and people were not willing to pay that difference. And apart from restricting that particular thing, the inspection to only that site, whatever, they wanted to have more service from him, rather a lot of consultancy. In the process, Tata realized that these are all not leading to what they wanted to get. So finally, they later what the cement companies and some other companies, especially cement, they came up with the integrative kind of a thing that, like, they will be one who will be constructing, taking up the entire of the construction. They will be taking up all the materials, everything ready. They came up with certain models, certain price estimates and all. So they were entering into the segment. They are eating away a major chunk, because for them, for a cement manufacturer, for him, Tata is not the only brand. They have so many other steel. It can be a Mittal, General, or XYZ. So whosoever gives them at a lower price, they used to go for it. And there was a compromise on the quality. Despite Tata ensuring a lot of quality products, they could not make much of a dent into that particular thing. Then came, they entered into the, finally they thought they have to enter into the construction, construction of buildings and homes. So that is where the entire case study ended. This is in nutshell about this case. Now, how we have to analyze the case? This is the big challenge. So anybody, if anybody has any idea how do they want to and uh, what to present, what not to present. Bhaskar ji.
Suresh bhai, I have not gone through the case fully, but from what I've started reading and what I'm grasping, and also from the brief you have presented, the idea would be to say that what made Tata start off with the innovations and the interactions which they started off with to engage with their stakeholders and increase, and then how did it work out for them? The success. I think essentially we are trying to answer the two questions posed by way of our slides.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so now the thing is that which are the, because the question itself has a very negative connotation. Other than one thing, why none of the other innovations could scale up? If you see the first question.
Right.
So they are themselves giving us a thing that, none of the initiatives succeeded except one.
So what is your take? What is our approach? See, I'll tell you my general approach, like how as a group we have to approach. See, we have 15 to 20 minutes time, right?
Correct.
Right, and the brief I gave is for more than 40 minutes, and we don't have that much. So what we do is we'll allocate 5 minutes for the analysis, nothing to do about, straight away we will go into the whatever the essence of the entire of the thing. That 5 minutes. Next 5 minutes we'll spend on question number 1. How we will structure around it. Third one will be only 5 minutes. So we will complete within 15 minutes. 1 or 2 minutes we will ask question and answers.
So last 5 minutes on question 2 and the conclusion.
Last 5 minutes is question 2 and straight away conclusion, and we will leave that 5 minutes for question and answers.
Okay. We are presenting second, no?
Pardon me?
We are presenting second, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
We will be in that order. We will be second.
My thought was, Suresh, I think first of all, very well articulated. I think you need to be first. You need to aim for a professorship than participating in this course as a student. I think very well discussed. Honestly, no, very good.
I just told you about
3 points.
Yeah, this is a journey which Tata went through. So we can summarize the entire of the journey in very analytical way, which since we all are within the same. What I'm thinking is I'm thinking of bringing Bhavin as a first person. I sent you one quote, if you remember. Iron bar is worth only $100. If the same is consumed for making a horseshoe, $360 is the value addition. And if you make a spring, it will be around, what is that? So, 1 minute. Let me just go through that, because I will tell you exactly how we will be presenting that. Okay. And I think if you agree, we will wrap it up with that. So I'm just going through, right? This, we will just only put that particular iron bar or steel bar. Okay. We can just put it. And then we say ki this is a steel bar which is worth $100 or 100 whatever. We can put it into rupees also. And if you decide to make a horseshoe, it is $250. And if you decided to make it as a sewing needle, it is $70,000. And if you produce watch springs, it would be 6 million, and this is what the Tata Steel or Tiscon is eyeing for. It is eyeing not to just be a producer of raw steel, which is worth only $100. Rather, they want to capture the entire platform, okay, entire business surrounding that particular, item, whereby just like a manufacturer of the so-called uh, watch springs, so they want to enter into it. This is how the journey of entire Tata has started with, and they entered. करके वहां से we will start with that, and then later who will do that particular industry analysis. Industry analysis we can make it for 3-4 minutes, and in the industry analysis, what was the industry analysis? I'll tell you. Basically, see, there was a sudden shift after liberalization from a seller's market to a buyer's market. When there was a sudden transition, Tata did not have the information related to the market and the consumer behavior, and their supply channel was not robust enough to take on the competition and take on the challenges because of opening up of economy. So they went on studying what went wrong, why there were the market leadership or the so-called premium which they used to charge was started declining over 10 years. So with that journey, they understood it was a supply chain which is especially distribution network, which is their weakest link, due to which they could not penetrate into the market. They could not increase the premium. So they focused on correcting that particular thing, correcting that supply chain distribution network. In the process, they entered initially into correction of the distribution network using RVMs, right? By ensuring the distributors are 100% loyal by giving them certain incentives, incentivizing distributors who are loyal to the brand. Then later they understood in the journey that not only these people are influencers, it is also certain influencers who are influencing the market, like masons and engineers. For them also, they have customized and made them part of the parivar, and they have incentivized by giving them certain trainings, promotion, as well as understanding the skill upgradation part. I integrated them into this channel, and in the process, they have made certain super links which became hugely successful by standardizing that product and taking them to the market, ensuring that the whatever the rudimentary practices are, time consuming rudimentary practices are being taken out, and they brought efficiencies within that particular steel the building construction or construction. So this is one innovation. Then the next innovation is in that process of journey, understanding the market and going through the part of market leadership, and to push their products and brand further, they have entered into something. They understood that there are certain threat from the cement manufacturers who wanted to go into EPC kind of a thing, turnkey projects. So later, Tata also understood they have to go and enter into it, so that not only that particular brand, because Tata as a company, as a business group, they also have cement factories, right? ACC was theirs, and there are some other building materials. Tata Electricals was there. So many other, So they have integrated their entire model into it, ecosystem, and now they are going into EPC, where they get more premiums and more synergies within the entire the brand. So this is how they sustain themselves and became more successful, beating the entire competition despite facing one of the worst financial turndown. Tata as a brand has increased the market share during that period. At the same time, they have continuously charging premium. Right? This is the analysis part. Is that okay? Ganesh?
Yeah.
As of now, for me, it sounds fine. I may give, I'll try to give more inputs in the next this thing because I'll go through the case once again. Today, I
Because
completely heard you. Yeah.
with this 3-4 minutes, we have to totally stop the analysis.
Yes.
Then we have
Correct.
to go to question number 1. Because we cannot give too much of information, you know. See,
Yeah.
the biggest problem all our friends in the other batches are committing is they are going into too much of in-depth into, you know, case information, whatever is there. Information is not important. It's more important is the model. Whether you understood what kind of one is, they did a value analysis, they went into the so-called platform business. Instead of focusing on pipeline, they went into platform, and there was ever returns, you know, increasing returns because of the platform approach, rather than the so-called pipeline approach. Okay, then they unbundled and rebundled their organization, understanding where the entire value chain is based on value chain analysis. This we can put it into the mechanisms. You know, can you identify mechanism that supported the premium? So that in that we can analyze. These all analysis will come up. So that we can spend 4-5 minutes. For that, you know, I am not a PPT guy. You know, somebody has to give some information and give a beautiful picturization of those things. We'll have only 3 slides. We don't need more. Even I feel 3 is enough. Ganesh, what is your
Yeah.
say?
I think keep it more conversational is more
Yeah,
important. I think the just one observation, Suresh. I think the good thing about this case study is it highlights that the kind of the understanding of industry participants is so critical.
right.
It's not just the immediate consumer or immediate distributor who's important, but there are larger participants. I think if visually, if you are able to plot who were the industry participants initially, and as starters looked at it closely, they saw that there are further industry participants who can be potential consumers, who can be potential collaborators. So I think if we are able to illustrate this aspect, which is what
Unbundling and
you highlighted very
rebundling.
beautifully,
This
understanding
yeah, that
exactly,
we can make it through unbundling and rebundling. Okay, we can put what was the Tata initially, the channel, and what it was later.
correct,
How they have unbundled, who are those people, what is that? We will
correct,
only make a narrative. What principles they have adopted and all those stuff. You know what like, you know, platform business, then value chain analysis, bundling, unbundling of what do you call uh, those corporation, right? You understood?
yeah,
So they are,
and
yeah,
just
yeah,
one more point, Sureshi, that I think as Professor Saptarshi had also highlighted, sometimes we go blind or we get blinded by what's worked in the past. So
absolutely,
I think
absolutely.
here this is a very good example of that they felt that their distributors or whoever, they are the ones who can fetch them money, which was not the case. Maybe it worked in the past, it did not work for the future. So I think this is another
And also they have adopted change management. They were willing to take the risk. They have cut certain people who are the key performers in the past, and they took a heavy amount of risk by, you know, cutting them to size, or rather uh, eliminating them totally, despite the fact that they may retaliate, right? So that risk they have taken because the exigency needed, they have to go take more risks. They have to totally restructure their entire network, you know, their entire value chain, or rather rebundling. They rebundled it in such a way. They have also focused on R&D part because they went to adopt a TQM. Apart from TQM, they have bundled many innovations in the process with excellent marketing research. So that in any case we can, right?
Yes.
So that we will focus. And also, what is your see? The question number one is the most trickiest part. How will you address? Question number two, we can understand. You think how we will put our question number one? That needs more preparation, more understanding.
Failure?
Pardon
Except
me?
one? No. That question is making you presuppose that all the initiatives were failures except one. First of all, do we as a group agree with it or disagree with it?
I don't agree. Anybody else?
Guys, anybody there?
Ganesh?
I was just thinking about it. I think I'll hold back my view right now. I do not want to say yes or no because clearly this process of reflection was very important for the group, and therefore one say that this all of these did not work for them. But I just need to think about it. I don't know right now. I can't say.
Me, see, my view I'll tell you, okay, so that you can maybe it may be useful for you. See, it is basically a journey, okay, which Tata Tiscon entered into. In that journey, they resorted to so much of risk taking, and at the same time they innovated so many products. But each product was contributing to the final outcome. Why? You cannot say Tiscon, this Superlinks became a huge success without them, changing
Guys,
their distribution channel
2
network.
minutes.
Hello? Yes?
I'm away from the talk for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Please let it. Just rejoin. Yeah.
Okay. And then, unless they have strengthened their distribution channels, they have educated all that, the so-called the studio, all that stuff contributed to this particular super links. Because without understanding which they came to know from, they started at one end and this is the other end. Finally, they have reached to that only because of these innovations, micro innovations, that paved their path towards this and understanding that this is what one of the stumbling block is. Had these all micro innovations not been there, superlinks would never have emerged. So I mean to say, the upscaling of superlinks is directly linked to the micro improvements or innovations. Had there been no innovations, there will not be any upscaling.
True, Suresh. I think good point. Just one thought there that I, in my view, and this is my view, that perhaps the culture of the business was very different in terms of more inward looking than outward looking, which
Right?
became a barrier for them to look at the consumer behavior. I think, and on hindsight, one can say that all of these measures actually took them to where they eventually ended. But I think the biggest hurdle was the approach to the market itself from the organization. The organization was lethargic. The organization looked at the past and felt that would continue for the future. So, in my view, that change, that transformation was the key. All these other measures happened because the transformation happened. Is what I think. But I will, as I said, I'll hold back my response to this question. Maybe the next call we will discuss this.
Yeah, you go through it. You go through it. Probably you can put it in a better way, so you can take up this issue also. So what I mean to say is all these micro innovations, whatever they made it, only because of these innovations, this also worked. Otherwise, superlinks would never have come into existence. And we need to understand one thing, all these innovations and micro innovations were not exclusive of each other. They all are linked, totally interlinked. So the link is established before this particular innovation. We cannot say that Superlink has come as a flash on the pan, a kind of a sudden idea where Tata has got it and then they suddenly went into it and innovated and they got a lot of results. No, it's not that. It was these continuous improvements that led to Tata understanding that this is one of the most stumbling block. If we can reduce it and take advantage of our brand and make it ready, whereby what they did is efficiently they have put it with every distributor, entire distribution channel, instead of making these rebars or the so-called super links just within the factory. They have ensured that entire distribution network is getting access to this technology, and they are being given, and that is customized to the needs of this particular customer. That they could do it only by taking advantage of all the improvements.
That's true. Now the question, I think, Sureshji, and this is a bit digressing from the case study, is
Yeah.
House of Tata, for example, have the resources to make such an initiative work. What about any other business which would have faced this? Do they have the luxury of time to invest in such innovations? I think I'm digressing here, but I think the question here is maybe this worked for Tata's because they had the resources, they were able to afford the time. They also had probably a market advantage, so they could do all this.
Yes.
Would this have worked for everybody else? I think that's where I guess we need to see whether such a, I mean, one is of course the understanding consumer behavior is central to it, understanding supply chain very central to it, and I agree with you, each of these pieces worked together and were interdependent, so eventually it was a success for Tata. But my only question I have is the time that they invested, the resources that they invested, could this have been achieved in a better manner? Maybe some of these hurdles could have been better addressed at an earlier age. So I think that is where my thought is that perhaps some of these aspects, the micro aspects, could have been anticipated better, is what I think.
No. Actually, you see, Ganesh, there is no information related to any of the competitors in this market. First thing.
That's true. That's true.
We are only assuming being in India, we know who the market players are. So we assume, but this particular thing was the entire information, the entire of the problem or that particular problem statement is available with everybody. So why they haven't approached is the question.
Yeah.
You got it? So you can think of it. So what we can do is any further thing. I think those three more or less we have addressed how we have to go about. So Bhavin will make a beautiful this one, and who will make the analysis of that 2 minutes part?
Let's agree on Friday.
3, 4, not Friday. Actually, we will put it on Saturday instead of Friday. Because
Then next call is because I think there may be some other perspectives as well. I mean,
Right.
the information is what we've discussed today is very detailed, very well. how do we present it in a concise manner?
Yeah, we
Taking
need
into
more
account, yeah, and take into account all the learnings we've had through the course. All those different models
Absolutely.
we've seen, how we kind of
Yes,
put
yes.
it out. This could have been looked at, that could have been looked at, but this
Yeah,
was
yeah.
not relevant. That kind of thing. Yeah.
So what
Let's
I
move.
can do is I can take up the question number 2. Okay. And also I can take up the industry analysis, that company analysis in the first. This one. These are the two which I can. Introduction, Bhavin is in any case, he is interested. We will put it up. Like he will give a very
Very
short 2-minute introduction, right? And I will give only short 3-minute information related to the industry. If somebody is there who can make it, present it even better, that's also fine. I think this question number 2 also can be addressed by somebody because we have a very good team. Question 1
sure.
definitely is tricky. It needs a little, but a little more. I think we are right now. We are not fully prepared for that.
That's correct. That's correct. Let's pick it up in the next call.
Yeah. So next call, we will ask. In any case, see, even after what do you call Sunday's presentation, also we have Monday, Tuesday, and all those stuff. So we can fairly have an understanding. In fact, Ketiki, I don't know why she hasn't come today. Ganesh, did you call her?
No, I think she said no. She's extremely tied down with work and all, so she's not here.
So, Praveen, any inputs from your side?
Most of the things are covered. I already done halfway only, not completed fully. Let us see if I could able to make it tomorrow or day after. We will.
So anyway, we have up to Saturday. See, preliminary we had a discussion about what the case study is all about without going into the details of every, because see, it's such a big case study. We cannot make present every case information and then
Yeah. It should be. It's
value.
15 minutes. It should be a summary of analysis. What we are saying about.
Yeah.
I think value chain and whatever the innovation, the
Right.
industry. So those things we that will give a bird's eye view, which we can
Absolutely.
exactly make. That is the best way to discuss the case rather than the case detail. Because if everybody is to present, it is assumed that everybody knows the entire details of the case. So we need to give our analysis and question and answers.
See how
By
we
the
fill
way,
that.
by the way, where is these questions which I could miss it?
Nay, he gave it as a this one. What do you call? He gave it in an email. You just go through the email. Otherwise, also I think I put that into our group. Just check in our group.
Okay.
Wait.
So Suresh, just one observation that I think as we were just discussing that I don't think we should summarize the case. We should not even talk about
Pardon me.
what is the. We should not even go into the case information. We should only focus on the three questions and the answers to it because uh, I can just imagine the audience. Everybody is going to look at the same case. Everybody is going to summarize the same thing. I don't think that will make sense. Rather, we should just talk about our analysis of it. What are the answers to the questions and stick.
No, no. Answers to questions in any case. As I said, we will have a small introduction of 5 minutes. We will spend 5 minutes on this. Why do you think all micro improvements failed? That question, 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes for the mechanisms. Mechanisms I can take up, not an issue, because that needs a different kind of a thing. See, the only thing is how we I don't want to say the details, rather I'll go into analysis of it. Because detailing, if we keep on detailing, there is so much of information and data available, you cannot fill in within that 5 minutes. I will just make a total different kind of an interpretation. So that gives, a core analysis part of it. Right?
Sure. Sure. Yeah, yeah. The objective should be to stick to the analysis. Is my point.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining there are so many groups going to present. Everybody is going to spend some time talking about the case. It's not
Yeah.
going to happen. I think the case is known to everyone. Each group should focus on the analysis, I guess, and all the things we learn through the course, we should bring it to focus.
Yes. We have to be very structured.
Right, right. So Sureshji, I will have to just disconnect because I'm entering in a no connectivity zone now.
Pardon
I'm
me?
sorry if I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah, your voice is also not audible. He's saying that because of the low connectivity, you want to.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just typing what we have concluded. In any case, we can call it for the day, and then we can have some other day, like Saturday, we can fix it.
Done, done.
So I just put the structure. Just we can think about it. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Have you seen?
Seen
Just
2, 3, 5 minutes.
Tiscon analysis 2 minutes, Bhavin, Tiscon analysis 3. Later we will fill in, who will take what role. So that we can do it. So I think in this we should not have too many presenters because it's only a matter of 15-20 minutes. So question.
That gives a better address. If you put so many people, then it will be leading to not
Yeah.
having the clarity, or it will be
Yes.
more confusion unless you are more synchronized to the entire thought process.
Absolutely. And last time we had enough time, 45 minutes was there, so we could exactly distribute, time amongst us. So in this, I wish only 4 of us will take up this entire of the thing. Or within that also we can micromanage.
I think we can see, maybe in a Saturday we can able to decide who are more in prepared and how they could able to. Then accordingly we can take the things.
Chalo. Okay.
Good night.
అచ్చా ప్రవీణ్
Ah,
ఇప్పుడు చెప్పింది అర్థమైందా చెప్పిన
ah,
స్టోరీ
ah.
I didn't go into total details. Okay. I gave you a bird's eye view.
Yeah, that is only required even if for 29, 30 pages.
మీకు సినిమా కథ సారాంశం తెలిసిపోతే సినిమా తరాన్ని చూసుకోవచ్చు.
Ante. The thing is that when that's what we're discussing now. So the case, everybody, it's only the thing that we need to understand what is the case, or whoever is done or read out or not read. So people, it will give a overall idea how it is to be. Then getting into the same, it's like a formulating a strategy how to go about it. So now based on the Saturday we will see how people are having their thought process about this, defining this your scope for 3-4 activities, which will help us to. So our focus is to now. There are 15 minutes which we were given 2 minutes introduction, 3 minutes is gone, and other 2 questions and.
See,
That is a formulation of the strategy how we need to spend time.
Absolutely. థింక్ ఇంతకంటే ఇంకేం చేయలేమబ్బా. వీళ్ళందరూ ఏంటంటే కేస్ హిస్టరీ మీద వాళ్ళు 30 నిమిషాలు స్పెండ్ చేసేసేవారు.
30 కాదు 1 అవర్ కూడా మాట్లాడగలిగే వాళ్ళు.
మాట్లాడడానికి ఏముంది, అదే కదా, అదే తిప్పి కొట్టి ఇది చేస్తాడు అది చేస్తాడు, పక్కన స్క్రిప్ట్ పెట్టేసుకొని ఏముంది అందులో. అల్టిమేట్లీ హౌ యు ఆర్ టేకింగ్ ఇట్ అవుట్. చూడు గణేష్ ఇప్పటికీ ఒప్పుకోవట్లేదు అది. అంటే ఎనీవే హీ హాజంట్ గాన్ త్రూ ఎంటైర్ ఆఫ్ ద కేస్ కదా. ఇఫ్ హీ హ్యాడ్ హీ గాన్
వెయిట్
ఏమంటారు.
వెయిట్
చలో అయితే మనం 3-4 తోటే మనం క్లోజ్ చేసి వచ్చాం.